The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for Monday, March 11th, 2024 is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Bergen.
Here.
Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Hancock.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Zvonek.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Please join me in an invocation. O Lord, our God and our Father, we come to you and we ask that you would look upon this particular gathering tonight to keep us safe and guide us in our decisions. Bless our city with honorable citizens, industry, sound education, and good government. Unite our community together, even though we come from different backgrounds. We pray that there be justice and peace in our city. Give the city council and citizens the wisdom, direction, and sensitivity to the business and proceedings before us tonight. Hear us, therefore, as we commit this meeting to the help of the community. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, no. Land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called upon to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Executive session update. During the executive session, we discussed real estate matters and council and personnel matters. Motion is in order for the approval of minutes of February 26, 2024.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Sundberg, second by Councilmember Coombs to approve the minutes of February 26, 2024. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So it was Councilmember Hancock that seconded. I actually wanted to make a substitute motion to table until the next, or continue until the next meeting. I just have several amendments based on motions that were made and making sure those are all clarified. And I think it would be more respectful to my colleagues and the public to have those in writing in the packet instead of me trying to go through every single one right now. So if we can continue it to the 25th, and I will send out those proposed changes.
There's a motion to continue by Councilmember Coombs. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by Councilmember Carter to continue the minutes from February 26, 2024 to the next regular meeting. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption, call for the question on the motion.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes to move the February 26, 2024 meeting minutes to the next regular council meeting agenda.
Women's History Month, whereas This month we reflect on and applaud the vast contributions and sacrifices of women worldwide that both publicly and without recognition impact our lives today. And whereas women have led social justice movements, made scientific advancements, enriched culture with works of art and literature, served with valor on battlefields, and charted bold political policies that have a global impact for this and generations to come. And whereas women of every identity and background lead movements for freedom, suffrage, justice, and equal opportunity, filling critical gaps to serve all communities. And whereas despite these significant contributions, the role of women in history and the marks they make on the world each day have been consistently overlooked and intentionally undervalued in academic studies of literature and history. And whereas since 1987, Congress has declared the month of March a time to reflect on women's suffrage, we can expand this opportunity by spreading awareness and continuing the movement for just recognition and respect for all women. Now, therefore, I, Mike Kaufman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 as Women's History Month and encourage Aurorans to support programs, ceremonies, and activities that honor women and celebrate the true value of their contributions. In witness whereof I have herein set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be affixed this 11th day of March 2024. Mike Kaufman, Mayor of Aurora, Colorado. Is there anybody here for this proclamation?
All the women in the room.
No, okay, we have, okay, very well. We have one coming up for the Ethiopian community. Oh, thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words?
Just want to say thank you, Mayor Kaufman. Thank you, council members, for proclaiming this. And thank you to all the other women like myself who've put in work. And now it's being acknowledged. Thank you for making that a special day for women.
Very kind. Now, with the members of the Ethiopian community that are here for this proclamation, come join me up front here. Let's make sure we're spread out evenly here. Okay. There's somebody going to be the spokesman? Or? Okay. 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 Whereas the City of Aurora recognizes the importance of commemorating significant events in history that have shaped our world, and whereas March 2nd marks the anniversary of the historic Battle of Adwa, a momentous victory for the people of Ethiopia and a symbol of African resilience, unity, and determination against colonial aggression. And whereas on March 2nd, 1896, at the Battle of Adwa, Ethiopian forces under the leadership of Emperor Menelik II successfully defended their sovereignty and independence against the invading Italian army, making Ethiopia the only African nation to decisively defeat a European colonial power. And whereas the victory of Adwa stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration for people of African descent worldwide, demonstrating the power of unity, courage, and unwavering determination in the face of diversity. And whereas the City of Aurora values diversity, inclusivity, and the celebration of cultural heritage, and recognizes the contributions of the Ethiopian community to the rich tapestry of our city's cultural landscape. Now, therefore, I, Mike Coffin, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim March the 2nd, 2024, as the 128th Adwa Victory Day. A witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be fixed on the second day of March 2024. Mike Coffin, Mayor of Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah, today we gather with the hearts full of pride and gratitude as we receive this proclamation recognizing the 128th Adwa African Victory Day. As an immigrant and a proud member of the Ethiopian community, the moment holds profound significance. Adwa stands not just as a victory for Ethiopia, but as a beacon of hope and resilience for all Africans. On this day, we celebrate more than just a historical event. We celebrate the spirit of unity, courage, peace, and determination that led our ancestors to triumph against all odds. Adwa reminds us that in the face of adversity, we are capable of extraordinary feats when we stand together as one. Thank you for recognizing the 128th Adwa Victory Day.
Council Member Jurinski has a clarification on Women's Day, International Women's Day.
Yeah. I would like to make an announcement. You all see all of us up here. I'm not sure if the mayor saw all of us up here, but for International Women's History Month, let it be known that in the city of Aurora, there are 6 women on this city council to 5 men.
Public invited to be heard.
Elise Mordos, followed by Elliot Flodden.
I'm Elise Mordos. I'm a resident of Boulder. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm here to dispel several illusions by the far-left fascist mob that has disrupted your meeting a countless number of times since October, and ask the council to remain focused on local issues. First, the group in question claims that they represent the people and that they want a ceasefire. They often quote a survey from Data for Progress indicating that most Americans support a ceasefire as evidence. This was actually cited in the resolution that you quoted here that was proposed at the last meeting. However, this data is faulty. The Harvard Cap Harris poll asks the real question: do Americans support a conditional or unconditional ceasefire? 67% of Americans support a ceasefire conditional on the release of the Israeli hostages and expulsion of Hamas. Survey also indicates that 82% of respondents support Israel, and 78% believe Hamas needs to be removed from running Gaza. This monthly survey hasn't really faltered much since the start of the war, so they have about 3 data points consistent. Second illusion is that they want peace. Some may be true anti-war activists, but the movement itself is not. DSA's Palestine Toolkit, which many of them are using a variation of, includes a link to suggested chants by the U.S. Palestinian Community Network. The suggestion includes name of the target, fill that in, has blood on his or her hands. Justice is our demand. No peace on stolen land. No Zionists in our streets. U.S. out of the Middle East. Resistance is our right. This is why we have to fight. There's only one solution, intifada revolution. Yemen, Yemen, make us proud. Keep turning ships around. None of these chants are calling for peace. They are calling for violence against Zionists, Jews, anyone who disagrees with them, and the disruption of the global economy. Moreover, this messaging has been a staple in the movement from the very start. Colorado Palestine Coalition and its affiliated groups provide video evidence of this on its website, on its Instagram account. You can see it from a rally that took place on October 8th. Okay, where they were openly celebrating the October 7th genocide on the Jews. Lastly, this entire movement is built on anti-Israel, anti-Jewish principles. Most of these local groups that make up the larger movement formed just after October 7th. Go to their social media accounts and you'll see no posts before October 7th. Additionally, over the last week, about 300 children were kidnapped by Islamic extremists in Nigeria. I have not seen one of these groups post about this on their social media accounts, not one. It is disgusting, obviously, that this even happened, okay? But the reality is that no Jews, no news, okay? And I really ask the council to remain focused on local issues, not fall for the facade that they put out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elliot Flodden, followed by Areli Flodden.
Elliot Flayton from Superior, Colorado. You'll see some unfamiliar faces over there. I think it's council's right, lower right. There's a group of us that came in, mostly from Boulder County, another from Douglas County. We drove a long distance. I think some of us came from an hour away. Why did we come here? We saw meetings online from October all the way up to February, and absolutely disgusting conduct at those meetings. We saw commentary aimed at Mayor Mike Kaufman, aimed at Councilwoman Jurinsky, that was not just disrespectful, but in Councilwoman Jurinsky's case, commentary that bordered on being anti-Semitic. I found out afterwards that some of this commentary crossed that line with comments outside the recordings that included dirty Jew. I wish I could say this was in isolation, but unfortunately this conduct is part of a pattern that is going on up and down the Front Range. I attended a council meeting in Denver within the last few weeks where they voted on a ceasefire resolution. I gave a speech against it. That's fine, I have my opinion. Right after I gave my speech, the police had to escort me from the room, not because of anything I did, but because they told me outside they were worried for my safety. Two of my friends who were there, one of whom just spoke, stuck around, and they had to get police escorts from that room, not just from the room, but out of the building through a back entrance. I think a council member of Denver City Council had to have the same thing happen with him. That meeting ended up having to go virtual when the ceasefire supporters kept on disrupting it. But that's not just limited to Denver. In Boulder City Council, where a lot of us attend, there's been multiple meetings that have not just been plagued by repeated interruptions. One meeting had 6 or 7 separate recesses, but they've had to clear the room, and they're going virtual for the foreseeable future. And in Fort Collins, which this past week, their meeting wasn't just going to recess. They actually had to cancel the meeting after not only people glued themselves to the wall and kept interrupting it, but when they passed out a pamphlet, the ceasefire supporters, with council members' names and home addresses. I repeat, their home addresses. The ceasefire supporters doxed the City Council of Fort Collins. This is a pattern that is being evinced all across the Front Range and here in Aurora. So what I ask this council to do is, if you have conduct that, like what happened at the last meeting, like what happened at the October meeting, where ceasefire supporters don't just have an opinion that I'm going to disagree with, but cross the line into disruption and racist threats, that this council pass a resolution condemning that conduct. The First Amendment might protect free speech, but it does not protect you from condemnation from what you say. And these remarks deserve condemnation if repeated. Thank you.
Areli Flayden.
Hello, my name is Areli Flayden, and I am a 10-year-old. A few weeks ago, I went to a Boulder City Council meeting, and what I saw there was that the pro-ceasefire people, they kept disrupting the meeting, and we had to go to 6 or 7 recesses. And after that, the police had to escort everyone out. And while that, someone came up to my father and wanted to have a discussion with him. After that discussion, they told to me that my father was a piece of shit. Thank you.
Dikla Leon. Dikla Leon. Oh.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Dikla Leon, and I'm an American Israeli. I was 23 years old on October 12, 2000, when 2 Israeli reservist drivers, Yossi Avrahami and Vadim Norjich, took a wrong fateful turn in the West Bank and found themselves at a traffic jam in the middle of Ramallah, a Palestinian Authority-ruled city. Consequently, they were captured by the Palestinian Authority police and were taken at gunpoint to the police station in Ramallah. While at the police station, a monstrous mob of over 1,000 Palestinians gathered outside. They were armed with metal bars, sticks, and building blocks and called for the death of the Israeli man. Soon after, the rioters stormed the building. They brutally stabbed and beat the Israeli reservists to their deaths. During this time, a Palestinian, later identified as Aziz Salha, appeared at the window, displaying his blood-soaked hands to the crowd, erupting with cheers. The mob then celebrated as one of the soldiers' bodies was thrown out of the window of the second story and stamped and beaten. Bodies were dismembered, and the heart and other inner organs were displayed. The other soldier was shot and set on fire after his head was beaten to a pulp. Then the crowd dragged the 2 mutilated bodies to Al-Manar Square in the city center and began a spontaneous victory celebration. I'm telling you this story because I'm appalled to see many celebrities wearing a pin at last night's Academy Award ceremony with this blood-soaked hand and the heart in the middle, a symbol that advocates for brutally murdering Jews and Israelis. This is the pin. I hope you can see. Red paint on hands has been used by pro-Hamas crowds since October 7th. There is a picture here, I don't know if you're able to see, of a guy in Cleveland, Ohio City Council with his bloody hands. The use of symbol and language such as I described is not coincidental. It is a Hamas propaganda. Similarly, the word flood has been used by pro-Palestinian but really pro-Hamas crowd to describe their approach. They say things like flood the streets, flood city council, flood their inboxes. So why are they using the word specifically? It is because Hamas's genocide on Israelis on October 7th is called the Al-Aqsa flood. Thank you.
Marley Rosenzweig.
Hi, Council. Thanks for the time. My name is Marley, and I know this isn't a bad word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm a proud Zionist. I was not born a Zionist. I became a Zionist in 2011 when I went to Israel for the first time on birthright when I turned 24, and I turned 24 while I was there. During this time, the negotiation happened to release 1,027 terrorists, including Sinwar, the current head of Hamas in Gaza, in exchange for Gilad Shalit, an IDF officer who had been held hostage by Hamas for 5 years. One soldier for over 1,000 terrorists. This value of life that I experienced in Israel, the ancestral homeland for the Jewish people, altered my soul. That is Zionism, recognizing Israel as the ancestral homeland for the Jewish people. Seeing how everyone of all walks of life are welcomed, and then after that trip, at this time, returning home to New York City, and seeing people being beaten just for being Jewish. Now, I've lived here in Colorado for 3 years, and in recent times, we've witnessed disturbing trends and a rise in anti-Semitism that threatens the very fabric of our communities. We cannot allow our cities to descend into the same depths of intolerance and bigotry that plagued the larger cities like New York City. Synagogues here are now needed to be secured with security guards. They need to have security plans in order during the high holidays and during Shabbat services. This is something that I was used to in New York, not here, and now this is more of a common trend. Bomb threats up and down the Front Range are becoming more and more common and up and down the state. One of the phrases from the other side saying, "not in my name," because they're Jewish, well, what I have to say to that is "not in my name," right back at you. I'm not going to hide. My friends and family want to take down their mezuzahs. They want to not wear their Star of David. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide for the 134 hostages that are still being held in Gaza, and I will continue to raise awareness about them. We must confront anti-Semitism head-on wherever it rears its ugly head. Even good that it's not here today, but like you've heard, it's been happening in a lot of other city council meetings that we've spoken at. Together, we must educate, advocate, and stand together in solidarity against discrimination, and together we can create a better Colorado and not fall into these major cities like New York and what's happening there. So thanks for your time.
Tanya Tabachek.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just wanted to give my 3 thoughts. First of all, I would like everyone look around, see how many people here. I guess those other people don't really care about Aurora. Another thing is regarding the pull of the amendment from Coombs. I was all ready to speak on it and say my thoughts about it, and then it was pulled. I don't know when it's going to come back again, but when it does, there's going to be thousands of people here again. Another thing is during the public speaking, there's only an hour. Majority of those people that spoke didn't talk about Aurora, okay? And then when people wanted to talk about Aurora, that time was already up because they were talking. So to me, we are here, the city council is here, people, we need to be concerned with Aurora, the things that happened in Aurora, and be more pertinent about what's going on with like car racing and people doing donuts in parking lots and so forth. So I just want to bring my point on that, saying that it is important, but there are people here in the world that have a lot to say. And at that meeting, only 2 people got to say anything. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor. Can I just make a point of clarification? There was only 40 minutes of public comment during public invited to be heard at that meeting. I know folks weren't able to get here in time to sign up before 6:30. If you do know ahead of time that you would like to speak during public invited to be heard, you can sign up online up until noon on the day of. And that way, if you have to arrive late, then you'll still have the opportunity to speak.
I stand corrected procedurally, and that is that council members are only supposed to respond after public invited to be heard, and so we'll remember that next time. Please proceed.
Oman Cross.
Hi, nice to see everybody. I know I've been gone for a while. I've been busy. But like they've all been talking about, I've been watching. It's been nasty around here and everywhere else apparently too. So I had an idea and I decided I'd bring it to you because we have kind of a bond. This is where I started. So for people who actually care about their issues but don't want to start a fight about it, they actually believe in the process that America stands for. I have a new way for you, since there are limited people that can speak during every time. I have a new way for people to show their support who don't feel like they can speak or feel like their opinion is not being listened to, whether you're here or you're at home or you're at work. So what you do, everybody take your right hand, look at your pointer finger. Think of everything you've accomplished and everything you dream about accomplishing. Then add on to that all your family and all your friends that depend on you, that rely on you, and that believe in you. Then add on to that anything you believe in terms of your faith and everything else you backline that with. And remember how much weight and how strong that really is, just that one. And then every time somebody's saying something that you believe in, or every time you feel like you're being ignored, or anytime you feel like you wanna just let all that out, but you don't want to cause a problem, you don't want to be mean to anybody, I want you to just take that whole one and I just want you to stick it all the way up in the air and demand, whether it's politicians or a school board or whoever it is, that they don't listen to you. 2 single words: acknowledge everyone.
Robbie DeYoung.
Before I address the council, I would like to say, and I really hope I pronounce your name correctly, Aria? Hi. Your dad has to be a really awesome guy to raise somebody as beautiful and as bold and as wonderful as you are. Okay, the reason why I'm here is, and we'll discuss this a little more in the future, fake license plates. Okay, well, let me explain this week. I went out and I got a call from one of my members in my group, and they had found a vehicle that they believe was stolen. And it was just on the next street around from me. So I drove over there and I looked it all up, and sure enough, it was stolen. And I waited there until the police got there. Well, they have a new program, which I have to say I really like. And when I got the call, or when I was told that I would get a call back, I looked on my phone and I got a text message letting me know what the case number was, letting me know when the officer was coming out and how long he would be. And they kept sending that message to me and updating it until the officer arrived. I really like that. And then after I had, waited for him and he went through all of the motions that he had to go through, then I left, and it gave me an option to rate his performance. Now, that was a bold move, and I thought that was wonderful. Then I come down the street a couple of days later, and I find a vehicle that was really out of place, again in my neighborhood. And I thought, that shouldn't be there. There's no gates or anything that could get somebody to the other side. And so I looked up the plate number on that vehicle as well. And guess what? Those plates did not belong to that particular vehicle. The other day, I was driving down the street and I saw a temporary tag that started with 89,000. And we're currently on the 6,000s for temporary plates. So I knew that one was wrong. And I'm seeing these more and more. I'm seeing more and more plates that don't look legitimate, that are from here in Colorado. And I would really like to see that fully addressed. And there be more cooperation between DMV and the police departments throughout the state. Thank you.
Jerry Drinsky.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Even in the best of times, being a leader of the people, showing character and courage is not easy. Leaders may not just be criticized on policy, they may also be called vile names and even threatened. Most people aren't or don't want to be leaders. Many will follow those who speak of hope, responsibility, goodness, and growth. Others will follow a mean, empty voice who will say failure is the result of the success of other people, and they should pay to improve your life. In the current climate, the majority of this council is showing leadership and character. In the recent discussion of supporting illegals, an honest decision was made to stand with citizens and residents of Aurora. If another city wants to send illegals to our city, they must agree to pay for their food, housing, and medical care. Aurora will not cut back on its responsibilities by reducing services, reducing hours of work, and bringing hardship to the city. What is wrong with a resolution declaring Aurora's citizens, residents, and businesses are the priorities? Why does the traumatic trio of council members Coombs, Medina, and Murillo have a problem with putting Aurora first? After all, it was Aurora's citizens who put them in office to promote and defend Aurora. Illegals didn't put them in office. Some of the speakers of 2 weeks ago spoke of disgust, Jim Crow, racism. They absolutely have no idea as to the responsibilities of leaders. The majority is singing to it that all crime is being reduced, and I'll say that again. The majority is singing to it that all crime is being reduced, that Aurora is a great city in which to live and start a business. The majority of this council has opened the door for Aurora to have a bright and growing future. The majority of this council is showing leadership, strength, and character. Thank you.
Susan Tabachek.
Good evening, Council. My name is Susan Eiler Tabachek, and I have a few comments to make, not only about how happy I am about certain things, but also how sad I am about how certain people that were not from Aurora were making comments, and it was a setup. It was a setup. Somebody set you all up. I would like to know who did that. Okay, to start. I didn't appreciate it, given the opportunity to talk as a resident of Aurora, to speak as Aurora was. I'm a native of Colorado, born in Gunnison. After the meeting with Medina emphasizing the issue on Concord, the problem has stopped. Thank you, Medina. Thank you, Mayor Kaufman. I appreciate you both for handling that problem. It took the gentleman that is our office manager to realize that I wasn't lying when I said that the man from California who owned Concord would work with the police. Mayor Kaufman listened, Medina listened. Thank you. There needs to be a turn lane made on Del Mar. You know, I go on the west side. I do it. As you're going down 6th Avenue, I do too. I turn, I get in this lane that doesn't exist, and I turn right. Everybody does it. So I'm requesting, I don't know who to request to check into it, to have that a turn lane made, because there's room enough, and we all do it. Well, I don't know about everybody, but I do it. Okay, this is a big one. We are all Americans. I was so mad last week, y'all just don't know how mad. I don't like this Aurora being set up, and I don't like the council being set up, because they were. We are all Americans and have the right to run our lives as we wish. Jurinsky has the right to run her life as she wished. That individual was disgusting who talked last week. To me, I would have hit her. I'm very outspoken. My hopes are for that individual to, while growing up, because they're not grown up, they're childish and immature. I hope that individual learns as an individual to become professional. We all have to take our hits. We all have to feel as we wish. But I have the right to voice my opinion. I have the right to live as I wish and do as I wish, because this is America. And that's all I have to say, and thank you all very much for listening.
Aaron Brooks.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Brooks, and I'm a resident of Boulder. I, too, am here after seeing how Councilman Jurinsky was treated in the last meeting, so I jumped in my car and drove the hour to be here to stand in support. And as I get through my comments, you'll understand why. I stand before you today deeply troubled by the rise in anti-Semitism and mob-like behavior taking place at City Council meetings and the disturbing trend of attacking City Council members directly across the Front Range. Since October 7th, I have personally been the target of no less than 6 anti-Semitic incidents simply for wearing my symbols of my faith, my Star of David, and a Bringing Them Home Now dog tag. I and a friend had to be escorted from a city council meeting in Denver simply due to wearing these symbols by a large mob that was chanting to such an extent that the council needed to recess the room. This is unacceptable. It is not acceptable for anyone in our communities to be targeted or harassed based on their religious beliefs or personal convictions. Furthermore, it is deeply concerning that one of the council members on this dais this evening, again, Councilman Jurinsky, faced baseless accusations and personal attacks simply for exercising her personal right to travel to Israel as a personal citizen and private citizen. No one should be subjected to such unwarranted scrutiny and slander for their personal choices. We must recognize that anti-Semitism is not a distant problem. It is a real and present danger in our own communities. It is not simply enough to condemn it. We must actively work to combat it in all of its forms. I urge each and every one of you to speak out against anti-Semitism and stand in solidarity with those who are targeted by it. We must create a community where all individuals feel safe and respected, regardless of their religious beliefs or background. We must create a community where council members feel free to do their jobs without feeling like they're being harassed. In conclusion, I implore this council to take a firm stance against anti-Semitism and to provide unwavering support to all council members. I urge you to unequivocally make a statement and make it clear that you will not be commenting on issues that take place halfway around the world. I urge you to officially condemn any behavior such as the behavior that took place in the last council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and we have one individual on the call-in line.
Matt, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Just one person.
My name is Matt. I'm from Aurora, specifically the Delmar Parkway neighborhood. I have been here for 2 years, and I have a property in the neighborhood that myself and a number of neighbors have complained about because it's essentially abandoned. The people moved out after a fire, and it's now become a blight on the neighborhood and a safety issue, as it's a haven for people who are up to no good. They have set up a couch, a bed, and come and go at all hours of the night. They have open burns for cooking or who knows what. And many complaints have been made to code enforcement, but nothing seems to be able to be done. Law enforcement has been contacted, but the challenge is they obviously have more pressing issues most times, and people aren't always there when they arrive. But it makes me feel quite powerless as a resident of the neighborhood and frustrated with following the proper procedures, reporting to the proper government agencies, and for a year seeing no action taken to address the issue. I thank you for your time.
Mayor, can I get the contact information of that?
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Same, I don't know, Delmar could be either in Ward 1 or Ward 3, if we could just figure out which council member that'd be
You know what? Put me down too, okay, and then I'll decide. I'll figure out which ward it's in, and I'll contact the right ward member. Ward representative. Okay.
Okay, and I believe we have one more person on the call-in line.
He hasn't been screened yet. They're screening right now. Just one moment. I can't bring him live until they've been screened. Allah, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Marav, also known as Rainbow Dragonfly. Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I have sat in several of these meetings over the past month along the Front Range. I'm shocked and terrified about what is happening in our country, in our state, and in our once peaceful towns. We have all seen the rise of anti-Semitism since October 7th. It's astronomical. It's risen almost 400% now. Life has changed for Jews all over the world, and right here in our own backyard, there's no exception. There is a movement of these city council meetings being hijacked across the country. The people calling for a ceasefire resolution are following a playbook, a very scary playbook that makes me question what year I'm living in and what is going on all around us. I have seen the demonstrations that the pro-Palestinian crowds have been having. I have heard the chants that they shout out on the streets and in our squares. They accuse Israel of being an apartheid state, which it is not. They accuse Israel of committing genocide, which it is also not. I want to address the accusation of genocide. How cruel to be accusing the only Jewish state in the world of this crime, a crime that never had a name before the Holocaust. To use this term against the only Jewish state in the world is all kinds of wrong. Genocide is what the Nazis committed against the Jewish people. The intention that they had was to wipe out the Jewish race. Their intent was to eliminate the Jewish people. They succeeded in systematically murdering over 6 million Jews. What Israel is doing now is protecting itself from the most horrifying attacks on Jewish people since the Holocaust. Israel is in war with Hamas because of their heinous attack on October 7th. Hamas has stated its intent to kill all Jewish people in Israel. It is in their charter, and they have made no secret about it. They have made it clear they intend to commit October 7 attacks over and over again. They have vowed this. This is their intention. Intention is what it takes to commit genocide. Without intent, the word genocide does not apply. Genocide does not exist without intent. What Israel is doing is defending itself against an evil terror organization. Israel did not start this war, nor did they want to. The civilian deaths, as awful as they are not committed with intention. In fact, Israel has intended to keep the Gazan people out of harm's way during this awful war that they were forced into. The loss of life is awful. We can all agree to that. But the use of the word genocide is not accurate. Instead, it's used to belittle the Holocaust against the Jewish people. Even the International Court of Justice has not found Israel guilty of committing genocide. It has, however, called for the immediate and unconditional release of the Israeli hostages. We are still, however, waiting for them to come home. It is time for all these anti-Semitic and hateful accusations to stop. It is time for this anti-Semitic movement to
your
stop
time is
taking
up.
over city council meetings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Great, that was the last person.
A motion is in order for adoption of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve the agenda?
It's moved by Councilmember Bergen.
Second.
Seconded by
Zvonic.
Councilmember Zvonic for the adoption of the agenda. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
I also vote yes. My e-scribe just shut down.
okay, the motion passes to adopt the agenda.
What's that? The next question is the adoption of the consent calendar for motions. Item number 10A1 to 10C1.
Mayor, motion to approve 10A1 through 10C1.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski to approve item number, the consent calendar for motions, item number 10A1 to 10C1. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, I'd like to pull 10A1, please.
Mayor,
Councilmember Murillo.
I'd like to pull 11, 8, 10.
We're not there.
I'm sorry, we're not on that one yet.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay, very well. Then the motion before us is the adoption of the consent calendar, item number, let's see, 10C1. Yes. So, no, just one issue up then? Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar for motions, item number 10C1.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes. When the clerk,
the motion passes to adopt the consent calendar for motions with item 10A1 removed.
will the clerk now please read the title to item number 10A1?
Item 10A1 is Community Development Block Grant Subrecipient Agreement with RDAC Group for administration and implementation of the Single Family Minor Home Repair Program.
Councilmember Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question on the rating that was given by staff on evaluating this particular, I know they only received one respondent to the RFP, but they only received a score of 69.6, and we're obviously having them extend their services. So can you tell me why they only got 69.6 as a rating?
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Alicia Arculari Montoya. I am the manager of housing and community development. And yes, they were originally scored that was, we had a review panel look it over, and that was the original scoring. However, we did have additional meetings with them to clarify the questions and the concerns that we had. Specifically, we were wondering if they had experience around things like Section 3, in the way that we have requirements to ensure that they are following HUD protocol in general. And so we wanted to be very specific about those requirements. We had not necessarily seen that very strongly in their proposal, but we did see that through the interviews that we had with them later on. And that is why we decided to make the recommendation.
But they, Mayor?
Please proceed.
But they had the contract before, correct?
It's the first time that they have a contract with us.
Oh, okay. It looked like it said to extend for, okay, that's the option to extend the agreement currently then.
It'd be a new agreement with them.
Okay.
It'd be the first time.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yep.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order. Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, motion to approve 10A1.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 10A1. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 10A1.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes to adopt item 10A1.
The next question before us is the approval of the consent calendar, resolutions, and ordinances. Item number 11A1 to 11A11.
Mayor, motion to approve 11A1 through 11A11.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by?
Zvonik.
Second by Councilmember Zvonik.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
can I pull off 11A10?
Okay.
And then,
11A10.
Mayor, I would like to just pull off 11A11, please.
The question then before us is the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 11A1 through 11A9. Is there one after? Through 11A9. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, and the question, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances 11A1 through 11A9.
The motion passes to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions, items 11A1 through 11A9.
Would the court now please read the title to 11A10?
Item 11A10 is Resolution 2024-29 to amend the Rules of Order and Procedure for the Aurora, Colorado City Council concerning policy statements regarding international issues or concerns.
Brief presentation by staff. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I guess. This is Andrea Wood from the City Attorney's Office. So thank you for your time. So this resolution would make it so that resolutions presented to council could only relate to topics that are in the United States, nothing international, with the one exception that we could have resolutions that address the Aurora Sister Cities issues.
Very well. Councilmember Gardner?
No, nothing additional to add. I mean, I think we've seen over the last several months, we're a local government body. We deal with land use, public safety, water. We have a policy committee where we take positions on state and even federal legislation. But, you know, performative statements on world events are not the purview of City Council. We're not the United Nations, we're not Congress, and I don't feel it's our role to make performative statements on world events. So I think it speaks for itself.
Questions of staff or Councilmember Gardner? Sponsor?
Mayor.
Councilmember Durinsky?
Yeah, I would just like to ask if Councilmember Gardner will accept a friendly amendment on this, because I already see the slippery slope that this is going to start. And instead of things coming through as resolutions, they're just going to come through as proclamations. So I actually would ask that this be amended to be any agenda item that is not pertinent to the city of Aurora.
Let me just say, I would probably oppose, we just did a proclamation today for the Ethiopian community. So, I mean, I think that's appropriate. So I would feel uncomfortable with, and we have them all the time, that given the nature of our immigrant communities, and none of them have been controversial, and you elect a mayor to make that decision. And I believe that the mayor pro tem also reflects on that decision.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. No, I over the last couple of months, we saw discussions on international affairs. So, I don't necessarily agree that we shouldn't address those international issues as a body. I think generally we do stick to local issues, but I, as a council member representing the most diverse city, 1 in 5 are foreign born, I don't agree that we should be limiting what a council member can bring a resolution, the topic of a resolution. So removing that ability for a council member to make that judgment, I just don't agree with. I think, especially after not having the fullness of the debate, we took the agenda item off, supporting Palestine was removed. So de facto, we would not ever rehear that again after this is passed. So I just don't support it generally, but also given that additional context, I don't support this as well. Thank you.
Very well. Further comments? Councilmember Coombs.
Mayor, so this body has, as a majority, passed a resolution regarding an international issue. So I find it interesting that now the flip is possibly to, we're not going to do that, even though folks have decided to do so. But as the last time that we heard this, I just think there's potentially unintended consequences, right? And that, as Councilmember Jurinski said, there's other ways for those issues to end up being discussed both by council and by members of the public. I don't think this resolution, even if we said any agenda item, would be able to stop people from bringing up international issues if it's their interest. So yeah, I think what this more likely will do is just limit folks from bringing issues that may be relevant, including potentially proclamations and statements of support of our global community, which we repeatedly and constantly say is what we support and what we want as a city is to be a global community. So I will not support this for those reasons.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, I think it might have started with me. I had brought forth right after the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, and I had brought forth a resolution to condemn Hamas and support Israel. I thought at the time, personally, my heart was there to do that. Consequently, what happened was this chamber was filled, and we had some, I appreciate everyone's right to free speech, but it turned into a very disruptive situation with name calling and so forth. So I know the mayor brought forth this particular resolution on not having us do any resolutions on international affairs, and I originally voted no, as did most of council, I believe, at that time. I am in support of it this time. I think it has created so much disruption and so much division in our city that it's not healthy. And, we appreciate our immigrant communities, but I think, and I don't know if you can word it differently, but when we get into situations of war across, across the nation, that it's probably not appropriate for us to really invest a lot of time in. We need to be focused on what is important to our residents in the city of Aurora. So I think on the issue of proclamations, I was a mayor pro tem 2 years in a row, and the mayor and the mayor pro tem have to make a decision whether to allow a proclamation to go forward. So at their discretion, they could refuse a proclamation. So I'm in support of the resolution as is.
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you. Yeah, to Councilmember Coombs' point, it did start with a resolution, I guess, back in October or in follow-up to events that happened in October. And frankly, that was probably a mistake. We shouldn't have done that at the time. We should have not waded into those, waters, I guess. I don't regret the position that I took, but I do regret that this body weighed in on that. We shouldn't have weighed in on that. That's not the role of local government. And to Councilmember Drinsky's point on, proclamations and things like that. We'll keep this as is for now, not do any amendments, and then her and I will work together to address proclamations and other things in the future, because I do foresee, this seeping into other things, but for now, we'll keep this as is.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of item number 11A10.
Mayor, I believe we need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion is in order.
Motion to approve 11A10.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by?
Jurenski.
Second by Councilmember Jurenski. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of 11A10.
The motion passes with 8 yes votes and 2 no votes from Councilmember Coombs and Councilmember Murillo.
Will the clerk now please read the title to 11A11?
11A11 is Resolution 2024-30, supporting Senate Bill 24-106, right to remedy construction defects.
Councilmember Lawson.
Yeah, Mayor, I've just pulled this just for information only because it did not go through a policy committee, and I just wanted to give some information to the public so they know they're aware of it. I do have a little something I just want to read. Housing affordability remains one of the most impacting issues in Aurora for people and businesses. Many wonder if even home ownership is ever achievable in a lifetime. Entry-level condos is a perfect first-time home buyers and individuals who want to downsize. Insurance costs have made condominiums less attractive and developers, and also the high cost of construction liability has driven developers away from condos. Senate Bill 24-106, which is one of the city priorities, which is construction defects, and it is one of our city positions that we take, can make a difference. This bill seeks to amend the state's Construction Defect Action Reform Act to give homeowners an opportunity to pursue timely and effective remedies for construction claims, get needed repairs for their homes, and allow builders and contractors to be part of making those repairs, and assure that homeowners can resolve disputes and construction claims in efficient, timely manner. I hope that my colleagues will vote in support of this resolution. I think one of the highlights of this resolution is on page 3. We need more housing at affordable prices, and we need it now. So I would hope that my colleagues will support this resolution, and thank you, Mayor, for giving me this time.
Are there any questions from the sponsor, Councilmember Lawson, or staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, I approve 11A11.
It's been moved by Councilmember Lawson, seconded by
Burbank.
Councilmember Zavak to approve item number 11A11. Okay, discussion? Councilmember Coombs.
Thank you. So there is an alternative bill that has come forward to clarify whether or not there is actually whether construction defects construction defect litigation is the cause of this shortage in for sale attached housing product, which is what this legislation is intended to address. One of the issues with this bill is that it actually states that as long as the contractors present an option for remedying a construction defect, then basically the homeowner has to accept it, whether they want to or not. So it does not give them more power. It takes away their power. And as long as that remedy is carried out, if there's other issues discovered in that process, those don't get addressed, because once the defect is cured, then it's cured and it's done. The other issue is that it requires, or it decreases or increases the threshold of the number of owners that have to agree to litigation in order to litigate. And right now there's a significant problem of condos having a high number of renters, and therefore not being able to get the buy-in from owners of those condos to actually participate in that litigation to address the issues because they're not living in those homes. And finally, there has been a study that came out that has indicated that Colorado has the most friendly construction, some of the most friendly construction defect litigation in the country, and that nonetheless, we're seeing a decrease in building comparable to in other cities and states. So basically, we're putting forward a solution that doesn't actually solve a problem that hasn't been demonstrated to actually be the cause of the issue that we're looking at. The reality is that charging people rent is more profitable than allowing people to own their homes. And so when folks are investing in real estate, they have more incentive to build for rent product than for sale product. And so for those reasons, I will not be supporting this resolution.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes. Actually, we have not been able to have condos built for over a decade in all of Colorado because of the litigation. And the right to remedy, I don't understand what the issue is. If a contractor agrees to remedy the problem, fix the construction defect, then it's done. And they have to do it in a timely basis. It's not like they can take forever to fix it. So the fact that we have such a housing shortage, and we hear all the time about, how people that can't afford to live in Colorado, can't afford to live in the city of Aurora, this is a way to finally address a serious issue that has been going on forever, for reform that is necessary. So I highly disagree. I support this wholeheartedly.
Let me say that the current system, well, first of all, I support Councilmember Lawson and her resolution. I think the status quo does not work for the city of Aurora. When I first came home from the Marine Corps, I went deployed twice after that. I started a small business and then was eventually able to buy a condominium. And at that time, developers had a bias towards building condominiums versus apartments. And so I was able to do that. I was able to build equity in that. And then I was eventually being able to buy a single-family home. And that is denied to the people of Aurora right now, to the residents, to so many families, working families that work hard every day that can't afford a single-family home. But yet, if they could get a condominium, a much cheaper condominium, as a for-sale product, they could do that. We haven't built condominiums in this city for a very long time. And let me tell you, the condominiums that are being built are at the very upper end, where they just don't care. So this is the, I guess, the Full Employment Act for lawyers, the plaintiff lawyers that do this stuff, and defense lawyers that handle these cases. They're the ones that benefit from this, not the people. They're denied a home ownership opportunity that they deserve. Further comments?
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. I agree with the intent and the overall premise of needing to address this issue so that we can see more housing stock in this type of product. I think I disagree with the premise that it's because of construction defects. So I support the alternate bill investigating kind of the root causes of these issues. So that's just my perspective. Thanks.
Thank you. Further questions or comments?
Mayor.
Councilmember Zawada.
I respect that you reject the premise, but if you talk to builders, that's their reason. It's not their premise. They're telling us that that's the reason that they don't build these types of products.
Mayor.
So I'm sure you know better, but.
Mayor, can I respond? Thank you.
Then Jurenski.
Thank you. Thank you. It sounds like you also know a whole lot on the topic, and you find yourself a subject matter expert, is what it sounds like. I'm sorry. I'm being interrupted by Councilmember Jurenski.
Councilmember Murillo has the floor.
Thank you. So I don't appreciate that comment. I think it's say what you got to say and be done with it. Doesn't need to involve my perspective. Like I said, I disagree with the premise, and I'm sorry if I don't believe for-profit developers that that's wholly the root cause of the issue, frankly. Again, I respect that some people think that that could be a pain point and they want to move that forward. That's fine. That's your opinion. I'm sharing that I would rather support a more in-depth investigation, holistic investigation for my decision-making purposes.
Councilmember Drewinski.
Yeah, thank you. I respect some things that Councilmember Murillo says, most things I don't. But one thing is certain, that it's really positive that for Councilmember Murillo, for her first home, she was very proud and announced that she bought a condo. She bought a condo for her first home, and she got it at a fair price.
Mayor,
Point of order. Decorum, personal attacks.
She announced it publicly.
Councilmember Drewinski has the floor.
She announced it publicly. That's how I know.
Now, Councilmember Drewinski has the floor. Please
Yeah.
continue.
Mayor,
So,
is this not considered a personal attack?
I think that for everybody should be afforded that opportunity, and condos are not being built. Like the mayor said, the only ones that are still being built are on such a high end that nobody can afford that. Nobody can afford that for their first home anymore. I absolutely support this. I'm kind of sad that the sponsor pulled it off of the consent calendar, because I think it would have just passed unanimously on consent. It passed unanimously out of the Pfizer committee. But I think you're going to see that a majority of this council supports this and wants to see more affordable housing and more condos being built in our city, and not just apartments, and quite frankly, apartment buildings going up in this city that look like prisons. With that, I call for the question.
The motion is a call for the question. Is there a second?
Mayor, second.
It's been, the call for the question motion has been moved by Councilmember Drewinski, second by Councilmember Lawson. Call for the question on the motion to call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor, yes.
The motion passes with 8 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Murillo, Medina to end debate and vote on the main motion.
Motion before us is the adoption of 11A11. Call for the question.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Murillo, and Medina.
Would the clerk now please read the title to item number 13A?
Item 13A is introduction of ordinance 2024-06, vacating a portion of the public right-of-way for Norfolk Street located between East Colfax Avenue and East 17th Place, City of Aurora, County of Adams, State of Colorado.
Brief presentation by staff.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Stephen Goober, presenting on behalf of planning staff, and this evening for your consideration, I'll be presenting agenda item 13A. This item is an application by the Quick Trip Corporation, represented by THK Associates, and they're requesting approval of a street vacation relating to the amendment of the Station 60 Infrastructure Site Plan, which was approved at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing on February 14th, 2024. Currently on screen is a vicinity map showing the overall location of the site. This portion of Norfolk Street is situated north of Colfax Avenue along the western edge of the Station 60 Master Plan area depicted in this image. The applicant is proposing this vacation in order to realign Norfolk Street so that it aligns with the future access south of Colfax Avenue and results in a future four-way signalized intersection. The imminent demand for this realignment was prompted by the incoming development of the Aurora Center for Health, Wealth, and Well-Being across Colfax Avenue to the south. To accomplish this, the applicant proposes to vacate an approximately 0.044 acre portion of right-of-way to apply a curve to Norfolk Street and allow the point of intersection at Colfax Avenue to shift eastward approximately 30 feet. UDO section 146-5.4.2.B.3.C, currently depicted on screen, outlines the approval criteria for right-of-way vacations within the city of Aurora. This proposal meets these criteria because it would not result in any landlocked parcels or restrict access to any nearby parcels or neighborhoods currently served by Norfolk Street. It would not reduce the quality of public services to any property within the area, and it is consistent with the city's existing transportation plan, as well as the Station 60 master plan and amended infrastructure site plan. And with that, I've concluded my presentation and am available for any questions you may have. The applicant team also has representatives present if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Any questions to staff for the applicant?
Mayor.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Just a quick comment on this. I'd like to thank Station 60 and the storage folks to the west, working with Salute and everyone coming together to make this happen.
Very well. Motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve 13A.
Moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski to approve item number 13A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 13A.
The motion passes to adopt item 13A.
Item number, will the clerk now please read the title to item number 14A?
Item 14A is finalizing of ordinance 2024-04, amending sections of the city code pertaining to mandatory minimum sentences for retail theft in Aurora Municipal Code to continue to combat thefts in the city. And Mayor, we do have 2 individuals signed up to speak.
Very well. What's the order? Does it say to go?
Robbie DeYoung.
Okay.
I would have brought this up last week, but unfortunately I couldn't make it. It's probably too late to add this now, but there's a group of individuals that should be added to this amendment, to this ordinance, and that would be the porch pirates. I see it every single day. Somebody came up and stole my package. Somebody came up and stole my package. Some of those packages have prescriptions in them. Some of those packages have quite expensive documents that could pertain to their homes. There is a lot of things that are being stolen and completely overlooked. Most people that have their items stolen off of their porch never report that to the police. And these people are going around following all of the delivery drivers, and whether it's just running off with somebody else's food or it's running off with somebody else's life-saving prescriptions. I think that the porch pirate should be added to this as well.
Chant Horichi.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Chance Horiuchi. I'm the Executive Director for the Havana Business Improvement District, mostly known as on Havana Street. Our special district is located in Aurora, Arapahoe County from 6th Avenue to Dartmouth along on Havana Street and Highway 30. We have over 2,100 businesses and about 209 properties in our global special district. After hosting and attending crime prevention outreach and roundtable discussions, many of the businesses of on Havana Street expressed wanting to see consequences for Dine and Dash and retail theft. With this short period of time, I'm just going to share 3 of the testimonies. However, I did email an assortment of other testimonies from businesses in our corridor. The first testimony, Donovan Welsh, Havana Auto Parts, 901 South Havana Street. I'm a small business owner and my family has been in business in Aurora for 48 years. We are in full support of this ordinance. Consequences work no matter how big or small. Thank you, Donovan Welsh. Second testimony, Lori Kropp, Havco LLC. It's a property at 860 to 894 Havana Street. Something major and strong has to be done to deter crime. The present system is not working. This problem has been escalating since the soft on crime initiatives have gone into place. Our property, which contributes a substantial amount to the city of Aurora and the state of Colorado through sales tax revenues and property tax, stands to lose a major tenant due largely because of crime. They have had substantial losses on top of a downturn in sales revenues. It is time that our council members and legislators start caring more for the victims of crime than the perpetrators of crime. Our small mom-and-pop neighborhood business tenants are also struggling with shoplifting. It is in killer amounts. Who would want to go into business in Aurora, Colorado right now? Business owners and/or employees are afraid for their safety to confront these and stop these criminals. Lori Kropp, Havco LLC. Last testimony, Bonfire Event Co. J. Kim. Hi, Chance. I wanted to reach out to share my support of the current ordinance being discussed by the City of Aurora surrounding retail theft and dine and dash incidences. I've worked with many retail business owners in Aurora through our event projects, some of whom had brick and mortar locations. So many of these hardworking owners are being affected by incidents of theft and becoming so brazen that violent reactions and methods are being employed. The lack of enforcement and meaningful consequences are making these issues more prevalent. We also operate a retail location, so these types of issues are near and dear to our hearts. The hard work and sacrifice made by so many of these business owners, who are truly the lifeblood of our local economies, is being compromised by this wave of unpunished crime. Harsher consequences and more enforcement are necessary to help get these issues under control. Therefore, we are in support of these ordinances to help our fellow small business owners who cannot continue to operate profitable businesses by continuing to absorb these types of losses. Jay Kim, owner and founder of Bonfire Event Co. Thank you so much for your time. We also have another business owner from on Havana Street that would also like to share.
I'm sorry. I have you signed up for 14B. Is that correct? Yes.
Is
Yeah,
there
that was
another speaker on
14B,
this?
so that will be next. Oh, no,
Okay, well, Dine and Dash is next. Yes.
so that was the last individual.
Oh, very well. Okay. Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Megan Platt with the City Attorney's Office. This item amends Section 9474 of the Aurora City Code to require a mandatory minimum jail sentence of 3 days for any thefts over the amount of $100. This amendment also removes the requirement that the sentence be served in the Aurora Municipal Jail. The amendment also adds a mandatory minimum of 90 days if there's one prior theft conviction, as well as a 180-day minimum jail sentence for any second conviction or more for any retail theft, as well as to address the question raised by Ms. DeYoung earlier. This would also cover a porch pirate situation because it's the same subsection of the theft ordinance that would cover that as well.
Very well, thank you. Questions of staff? Seeing none, Councilmember Drewinski.
Mayor, I do have a
Councilmember
question.
Coombs.
So I know the amendment was mentioned. What's in the packet still has the requirement that the 3 days be served in the Aurora jail. So is that just going to be corrected at a different point? I just wanted to make sure because it's still in there as requiring that in Section 94-74A.
I believe that should have been corrected on a continuation page by Mr. Schulte with my office. Is that my understanding of your wish, Councilmember Drinsky?
Yeah, that is, and, it is in there? Okay. So, yeah, I thought I had seen it in there, and they're confirming right now, they have it pulled up, and they're saying that it's in there. And Mr. Schulte is really sorry that he couldn't be here tonight. He had surgery, so he can't clarify that, but it does look like it's in here.
I believe there's probably the original version and then the version after the continuation page. Both I show in the packet that I have.
I don't think the version is there, the continuation page is there, but that's okay, as long as we make sure that it's in what gets published.
Further discussion?
Questions or discussion?
Are there any questions of staff? Any more questions?
I'll wait.
Seeing none, motion is in order. Councilmember Drewinski.
Mayor, motion to approve item 14A.
It's been moved by Councilmember Drewinski, seconded by?
Hancock.
Second by Councilmember Hancock to approve item number 14A. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
I realize that actually some of this is more questions than just discussion, so I apologize. First, I wanted to ask, because it's not listed in the packet, there's just kind of one vague sentence on the information page about the cost impact to court, prosecution, and public defenders, and if our public defender could come down to talk about the impacts to the public defender particularly. But I don't see anything about an increase of trials or an increase of people who would be represented by the public defender's office, given that jail is now being attached to offenses that wouldn't otherwise have a sentence of jail. So we don't really have a what number of cases we expect on this.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah,
I'm
point
sorry,
of order.
I have the floor. Am I not allowed to have the floor to ask a question?
Well,
She has a
okay,
point of
go ahead
order.
and finish.
Yeah, so we don't have a number of expected cases, like a number of expected charges that would be filed under these changes to this ordinance. But I want to understand kind of what the workload per case that we could expect from the public defender, the prosecution. Megan, or Ms. Platt, I know you don't work for the prosecution, but maybe there's someone who can comment on kind of the cost per case for the prosecution of going to trial, because these are the types of costs that I would expect to see reflected in a fiscal note.
Point of order.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, it is highly unusual that a council member calls somebody else to speak on an item when we are to either address staff or if there's an applicant in a public hearing. So I don't think it's appropriate. Otherwise, I didn't know that for 8 years, I'd be calling all kinds of people up here.
Yeah, Mayor, our chief public defender is a member of our staff.
Okay, Councilmember Jaworski.
Yeah, I'm quite frankly tired of the dog and pony show that's going on with our public defender's office and whatever this relationship is between city staff, our chief public defender, and Councilmember Coombs, and anything that comes forward. She calls her down to give her this public forum to speak, and half the time, 90% of it isn't even about what we were originally talking about in the first place. And quite frankly, just to answer your question, whatever the cost is, we're going to pay it. You know why? Because we're going to keep crime illegal in this city. We're going to keep it illegal. So whatever it costs, whatever the caseload is, that's what it's going to be. But I do not agree to any kind of outside speakers. If she wanted to speak on the agenda item, she had that right, and she didn't do that. I have done multiple interviews on this ordinance. She has done multiple interviews on her office. There's nothing else to hash out. I call for the question.
Mayor,
There's a motion to call for the question. It's non-debatable. Is there a second?
Sundberg.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jaworski, seconded by Councilmember Sundberg. Call for the question. Call for the question on the motion.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes to end debate and vote on the main motion with 8 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Murillo, and Medina.
Will the clerk now please read the title of item number 14?
Mayor, we have to vote on the main motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Has it been moved? It was moved in second, correct? Very well. Further discussion on the main motion. Didn't we just vote? No?
The main motion was
Okay,
moved
it's a
by
final vote.
Councilmember Drinsky
Okay,
and seconded by Councilmember Hancock.
Then call for the question on item number 14A.
I know it died.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Murillo, and Medina.
Clerk, now please read the title of item
Mayor,
number 14B.
point of order.
Councilmember Coombs.
We passed a resolution requiring fiscal notes, and this does not neither of these have a fiscal note attached. So I would move that they both be continued until a fiscal note is provided at the next meeting.
Oh, I guess a question to the city attorney. This is, obviously, if we're cutting taxes, you have to identify an offset. But in this sense, it's an unknown as to what it will increase in terms of cost.
All ordinances are required under the council rules to have a fiscal. That's something that the city manager's office must provide.
We can't hear.
Okay. So every item, every ordinance must contain a fiscal note that must be provided by the city manager's office. That's a requirement under the council rules. 14A has been adopted, so that conversation is over. Unless you do a motion to reconsider 14A, which you could do a motion to reconsider, but otherwise that matter's settled. So you're talking about 14B not having a fiscal note and wanting to continue for that reason.
No, I think
Mayor,
you're talking about 14A.
point, yeah, 14A is
Yeah, so
changing that threshold, so
Okay.
how is that
I
not?
think the question is if, and staff, what were your instructions in terms of fiscal note?
I'm sorry, Mayor, could you
What was
repeat?
staff's instruction in terms of fiscal note?
I didn't receive any instruction regarding the fiscal note, Mayor. I know that there was discussion during the, I believe it was the Public Safety Committee regarding some of these items, and the issue was that the data required to collect information as to what that fiscal note would be was really not available, and I can defer further to Chief Morris as it relates to the police data that's available on this subject. I couldn't speak, obviously, to the Public Defender's Office or to the criminal prosecution element in terms of enforcement or what that would do for court administration's budget. I think all of those theoretically would be impacted, but all I have is Chief Morris here with me that she could sort of speak to the difficulty in gathering that information to provide data for a fiscal note as it would relate specifically to police resources.
Chief Morris.
Yeah, my name is Heather Morris, and I am the interim chief of police for the Aurora Police Department, and I do not have any specific data on the financial impact that this would have.
Okay, I'm going to ask the Chief Public Defender, her view.
As it relates, excuse me, as it relates to the theft of services or 14A? Thank you, Mayor. As it relates to 14A, I can just tell the court, or excuse me, the council that, as I said before, and as Chief Wilson had said, and I don't believe would be disputed by the prosecutor, this will increase the number of jury trials significantly, and in this instance, unlike with the motor vehicle theft, it will also increase the number of cases. I can tell you that the court as a whole experienced a dramatic increase in the number of jury trials. That, of course, impacts resources in not just my office, but in the court and in the prosecution. We went from 67 jury trials in 2022 as a court to 194 in 2023. Personally, and I can speak to how that showed up in terms of a monetary value in my office, it delayed the life of a case from 159 days on average to 275 days. So you're looking at basically a dramatic delay in being able to get through the cases that we're defending against. We have a standing request for an additional 3 lawyers. I think that the numbers based on these increases will support at least another 4 and additional staff.
Let me defer to the city manager.
So for council, in terms of how we would calculate a fiscal note on this, there's a few things here, which is one, as you've heard, we don't have any reliable data as to how readily we're going to be able to enforce this. So from an operational standpoint, from the police department, they will respond to these types of calls, both on 14A and 14B, as resources allow to them to respond. So they're going to be prioritized within our standard call volume, so they will respond within that. In terms of the cost for that enforcement, those costs are already borne by the city. The city does not have any additional costs for enforcing these ordinances, because we pay our police officers their annual salary based on the amount of time they work, whether they're enforcing, 2 calls for service or 12 calls for service during that shift, that cost is the same. So from an enforcement standpoint, we don't see significant changes. There may be operational impacts. This will be potentially additional calls for service, and we'll have to handle that within the operations of the department. Similarly, on the municipal side, as you've heard from your chief public defender, there will be an increase in the workload associated with this, and then they will have to come to council, each of the different offices, to determine whether they can handle that workload within their existing resources, or they're going to require more resources to handle the increased workload, but we don't know what that workload is going to be because we don't have the ability to accurately project what that is going to result from enforcement and then ultimately through the municipal court system. And then finally, on the detention side, it's actually a very similar response, which is right now we pay our detention guards. We have that, whether they are, overseeing, 4 prisoners or 24 prisoners, that the bulk of that is a fixed cost. We're paying for those officers, detention officers' salaries. There will be a small incremental increase on the detention for potentially additional prisoners associated with medical and food, but again, we don't have an accurate way to reflect those additional costs for that. So from a fiscal standpoint, if council wants more detailed analysis, I can put what I've just told you in a memo, but it's going to be essentially reflecting the budgets that have already been passed, and this is primarily going to be seen as operational issues in the associated departments.
Very well.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coons.
So I guess I just have a question when we're talking about fiscal note, because at the federal level and at the state level, they prepare fiscal notes based on assumptions, not based on we definitely know what's going to happen. And so it's not clear to me what we mean by a fiscal note, if not that we're going to put together some reasonable assumptions about what will happen if we take a certain action, and then extrapolate the costs associated with that. So I again would respectfully request that these items be continued to the next regular meeting, pending an analysis based on a reasonable set of assumptions regarding what the cost would be.
Mayor.
I don't think it's an acceptable answer that we
Councilmember-
can't really
Councilmember Zavoni.
guess, or we can't really figure out how much these things are going to cost.
Councilmember Zavoni.
Yeah, Mayor, and I would say I agree with you, Councilmember Coombs, which is why I don't believe we can do it. So for instance, I don't think the staff's going to have the ability to determine what we're going to save from the perspective of businesses not leaving, or what we would potentially gain in terms of businesses coming here who might not otherwise if we just had more permissive laws around this. But that's one of the problems with state fiscal notes and federal fiscal notes, is they're static. They don't do any sort of econometric modeling to determine what the other side is. It's just static. It's money in and out. So I don't think as it relates to this type of an ordinance that any sort of fiscal note is going to give us any clarity. I think that in a year from now and 2 years from now, we'll have the ability to look back and determine if there was costs associated with it, but the unknown is what sort of impact it has on our business climate in the city.
Mayor.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Jaworski.
Yeah. Also, one thing that we did clarify, because a cost that we weren't sure of, that I wasn't okay with being unsure of, is how much we're paying for bed space at the county jails, which Ms. Cadiz so thoughtfully pointed out that people are scared of going to the county jails instead of our municipal jail, which is why we've expanded this to allow people to serve their time at the county jail. And the answer to that is zero. We are being charged nothing to send people to serve their 3 days at the county jail. So that is also not an additional expense. But also, Mayor, we passed this. We passed this. I'm not sure why we're allowing this discussion to continue, but I would like to move on to item 14B if we could.
There's always a motion to reconsider available to members. I'm going to the city manager. It's right now it's no discernible fiscal impact, and that's the decision. Would the clerk please read the title to item number 14B?
Item 14B is finalizing of ordinance 2024-05, amending sections of the city code pertaining to mandatory minimum sentences for theft of services in the Aurora Municipal Code to combat the increase in dine and dash thefts in the city.
Brief presentation by staff.
I'm sorry, Mayor, we do have 2 individuals from the public who would like to speak. Okay.
I'm sorry,
Chance
is there a person
Ferrucci?
from the public? Okay, please proceed.
You just want one. Rodrigo Sanchez.
Please proceed.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rodrigo, and I own a tequileño Mexican restaurant, Havana and Yale. And I've been affected, by these people. They go and just make the plans go and, order good food or good drinks, and they run away. For me, on this restaurant in Havana and Yale, we're losing about $1,500 a month for people that go run away. And I got another 3 more restaurants in Jefferson County, and we don't have this problem, over there. So I'm sure it's something going on here. Like, it's still last year, we got robbed 3 times on this location, Havana and Yale. And the third one was on June, and it cost me $36,000, all the damage and everything they stole. And we made the report with the police and everything, and I'm still dealing with the insurance to get that money, recover the money. But I don't know what we need to do, maybe to get together all the restaurants and make the claims like when customers leave without pay. And maybe if we, all the restaurants or all the businesses, we come together and make a claim every time, maybe it's something huge, but nobody may be taking care because, we're like a small restaurants or we don't claim it, so you guys don't know much about how much money we're losing every month. But me as one business here in Havana and Yale, I'm losing about $1,500 a month, and maybe every restaurant happen the same thing worse. And that's all I want to say, and thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
No.
Okay, very well. Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening again, Megan Platt with the city attorney on this item as well, Mayor. This ordinance is to amend the general penalty section in 1-13-3 to require a mandatory 3-day minimum jail sentence for subsection 94-74D, which is related to defrauding a public establishment, AKA the Dine and Dash ordinance, to impose that for any agreement for $15 or more.
Questions of staff?
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, the gentleman with the restaurant, I'm sorry to hear about that, and it sounds like a huge issue. So my question is, with this ordinance passing, would we be able to do signage for those restaurant owners to state, that basically you will, that there is an ordinance in the city of Aurora that you will spend 3 days in jail if you dine and dash? Is that a possibility?
I think the onus to do that would be on the business owners, but if council wanted to offer that or to appropriate funds to do that, council could certainly do so. There would be nothing, in these ordinances to preclude that.
Thank you.
Further questions of staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So for the purposes of this Dine and Dash ordinance, would this count as a similar offense to retail theft for the purposes of the repeat offenders section of 14A?
It would not, council member. This particular section applies to subsection D of 9474, and the other ordinance applies to subsection A, which includes retail theft. So this is only specific to the subsection D general penalties.
Thank you.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurinsky.
Motion to approve item 14B.
Moved by Councilmember Jurinsky, seconded by?
Sundberg.
Seconded by Councilmember Sundberg. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
I just want the record to reflect for this and the prior ordinance that we did receive communication from Arapahoe County that the cost to them is $125 per day per person. So for these, that would be $375 for each of these offenses. However, for the repeat offenses, their letter included figures around $11,000 per inmate for the 90-day, and then $22,000 for the 180-day. And they did indicate with both the sheriff and the majority of the county commission stating they will consider charging the city of Aurora for the additional jail capacity. And I have heard from them and also have spoken with a couple of members of the Adams County Commission, requesting that we have conversations with them, right? Just like we would ask school districts when we're planning on building new homes in the area, what the impact to them is. That we also, when we're passing ordinances, ask our county partners what the fiscal impact to them is.
So, to a question of staff, but their first 72 hours would be in our detention center, would it not be?
No, the way that this ordinance is drafted would be that wouldn't have to be served in any particular jail. So it could be served in the Aurora Municipal Jail, but it also could be served in Arapahoe County if that was deemed appropriate by the court administrator or jail staff. So there's no requirement for this particular one that it's served in.
Right, but decisions would be made in accordance to capacity and cost, correct?
That's correct, and I imagine it would also depend on whether that offender had other holds or other things that would require them to be sent to another jurisdiction to serve the sentence.
Mayor.
Councilmember Zvonek.
Let's say, so part of the reason that any sort of fiscal note is speculative is because while we know that it would increase costs in terms of if we are actually catching people and charging them, the fact of the matter is the hope with a lot of these penalties that we're increasing is to create a deterrent so that people don't want to steal in Aurora because they face jail time. It's something that they don't face anywhere else. And so, again, I think that passing these, it sends a message to our residents and to our businesses that we're going to do everything we can in our power within municipal code to make their businesses safe. And I think it would be wise for us in a year from now to look back and determine what those costs are, because when I passed the motor vehicle theft minimum mandatory, I talked to the sheriffs. And in fact, both the sheriffs from Adams and Arapahoe stood right there in support of them, because they recognized that cracking down on crime is something that we needed to do for our community. I think these will have the same effect in terms of being a deterrent for people from stealing from restaurants, from stealing from retail establishments across our city. And if they take their crime into other cities, that's not what we want, but that will be the effect. And hopefully state lawmakers will follow suit, and there will be more resources put into our county jails to make sure that people who steal from our community serve their time.
And I think,
Mayor.
As it is an unknown as to how many individuals will be apprehended, it is an unknown as to its impact on the economy when you have businesses that could operate without fear of fewer thefts, whether it be the Dine and Dash or whether it be retail theft.
Yep.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Mayor, thank you. On this one, I also spoke to Sheriff Brown, and he did say to me, he said, right now we do not pay for bed space. He said, listen, if I'm getting 20, 30 a month that are serving time, for retail theft, and I have more serious crimes happening, we may have to reevaluate. I may have to start charging, or I may have to send them back to Aurora, in which case we know after 72 hours, we would have to let them go. So this was made clear, but I did have a conversation, as well as Pete Schulte did, with Sheriff Brown directly regarding this. And I absolutely am aware that if we have, 20, 30, however many people in 1 month serving these jail sentences, whether it's a second or third offense, and there's more serious crimes, needing the space, I'm well aware of that, but we're making an attempt and we're doing something about it. And also what is happening with a lot of these retail thefts, which I have also found out, is they're being caught on these retail thefts, but a lot of times why they're going to county is because they already have outstanding warrants for another crime. They're just finally getting caught on the retail theft. So that is why some of them are going to the county jails immediately.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, I am in full support of this ordinance, and no matter what the cost is, we are making a statement to our public, to our business owners, that we are going to have deterrence for criminal behavior. And, so be it if it costs more. I think the residents of Aurora are on our side when it comes to public safety. It is always the #1 priority whenever you talk to any constituent. Their safety is paramount. And so, I think this is a good ordinance. We hope that it will deter people from stealing from stores and from Dine and Dash, because it has a serious effect on our businesses. And we thrive on, obviously, our sales taxes in the city of Aurora for everything, for our libraries, for our rec centers, for our police, for fire, for water. That is all dependent upon the revenues that we receive. So we must protect our businesses. Thank you.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I guess on the point of deterrence, since it keeps being raised, it is well documented that jail is not a deterrent to crime, and that when people go to jail, 65% or more of them reoffend, commit further crimes. So it does not prevent crime, and that it is also well documented that mandatory minimums have a greater impact on African Americans and on people of color than they do on white people. So I do want us to be very clear that we are also pursuing policy that will have disproportionate impacts on people of color in our city.
Mayor.
Councilmember Hancock.
No, you're not going to use that one. You're not going to use that one, okay? Because I'm so sick and tired of hearing this. Stop using brown and black people to put forth this leftist ideology. I don't care what color you are. If you commit a crime, if you rob somebody, you go to jail. I don't care if you're black, white, blue, purple. You, my good sir, I was in your restaurant last week, and I saw his wall of shame of people who dined and dashed in his restaurant, and it made me sad because I frequent your restaurant quite often. I love your food; it's delicious. But the thing is that this is the same kind of crazy shenanigans we talked about last council meeting. To tell people that we have standards that we must uphold. Okay, we have standards and principles that we must uphold. And you've been taught from the time you were a child, there are things that you should and should not do. Stealing from other people, that's wrong, okay? It's wrong. And don't put a brown and black face on it and try to make it something that it's not. I am insulted that you would actually put that in your mouth and say it, okay? So the thing is that we have got to hold all people accountable for the things that they do. And I want us to protect, our citizens are telling us, please, I've gotten email after email after email from folks who really want to come to this chamber and to this body and say something, but they're afraid of the repercussions that could come against them because they raised their voice. Why should 95% of the people be afraid of 5% who won't act as good citizens of this beloved city? Our job is to uphold the law. Our job is to protect our citizenry. Our job is to listen to them and stop making excuses for the stupid things that people do.
Amen.
Sick of you.
And I just want to say that for every day that habitual thief or habitual criminals incarcerated is the day they're not committing crime. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of item number 14B. Call for the question.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Murillo, and Medina.
Reports. Mayor, I just want to say that myself, Councilmember Sundberg, Councilmember Hancock, Councilmember Bergen attended a graduation ceremony last week for a police academy graduation with, I believe, there are 29 graduates in that program, and so very proud of that. I think in the prior year we were having classes of 5 and 7, and now that's a wonderful change. I visited St. Andrews. Friends of St. Andrew. It's to serve those experiencing homelessness, poverty in Dallas, in the vicinity of Dallas and Colfax, in that area. And it's sponsored by the Queen of Peace Catholic Church. And I went out last Saturday, my monthly ride-along with APD Patrol. That was at District 2, and I'll be at District 3 next month. And with Patrol Officer Dominique Ferris, who I think did an extraordinary job. And I would encourage members of council to do the same. Let's see. Councilmember Coombs.
So I had the ability to attend the Aurora at Home Collaborative on Friday, where they were discussing strategic planning, including planning for families in light of the changes that are going to be happening in the city with respect to our homeless services. And we will have a report at the Horns Committee this month in March to discuss what kind of ideas we have moving forward to address the issue of ensuring that we have shelter for families in our city.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
No report.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Mayor, I would just like to report that I don't know if you all can see the similarities or not, but Councilmember Hancock is my sister, for sure. Again, I don't know if you can tell by how we look, but that is my sister over there, and I am proud of you, and I'm proud to have you on this council. And we have an at-large town hall coming up on April 18th. Unfortunately, there was a scheduling conflict, so this is going to be the very first Ward 2 town hall I have missed. But the Ward 2 town hall is unfortunately the same night. I will be at the at-large town hall at 6:30 at the Southeast Rec Center. I also just want to give a quick shout out, real quick, looking right at you, Leonardo. I get to graduate college this May, and Leonardo, sitting out there, was in my government class with me. I helped him register to vote for the very first time, because he's a youngin', 18 years old, and he has a huge interest in politics, and I am so happy to see you here tonight.
Okay. Councilmember Zvonek.
No report.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. I have my monthly town hall March 28th, the fourth Thursday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. We'll be at the Moorhead Recreation Center once again. And just a preview for April, we'll be touring the Fox Theater along the Colfax corridor. So if y'all haven't had a chance to check out a show or visit the Aurora Fox venue, I welcome you to join us for a tour. We're going to hear from the new executive director. We might even hear from one of the directors of one of the plays. If you have time, would love for y'all to join. And then just wanted to address some comments earlier, since I was not able to respond when my name was brought out of context earlier this meeting. First of all, I am disappointed that my colleagues would not allow me to respond when my name was mentioned. I've given that courtesy and respect to every one of my colleagues, and I'm disappointed that that wasn't afforded to myself tonight. Moving forward, I hope that that's something I can continue to pay to my colleagues and also receive in return. Specifically when it comes to construction defects, I remember when I was first on council, the horror stories. We had people up here on speaking to council, talking about the horror stories that they were put through by wealthy industry and developers and landlords around construction defects laws. People who were forced to an outcome because simply of the product type that they lived. And I told myself that I would never support legislation that relaxed the protection of homeowners. I support addressing this issue. I think we have a lot of missing middle housing that a lot of people could really benefit from. However, I don't think it should be at the expense of the individuals to get there. So I think that's really important, and to take my circumstance out of context is wholly disappointing, and not having the opportunity to respond. I can't imagine having to, if something were wrong in my condo, having to face a wealthy developer or landlord. When really just build it right the first time. That's really the solution here. So if we're moving away from trying to point fingers, it's construction defects, meaning there was a defect in the construction, meaning whomever built that physical piece of property, something was wrong with it. So if you build it right the first time, we wouldn't have to revisit this issue. So I think I just wanted to be clear and on the record about my position, since I wasn't afforded that opportunity when we were talking about this. So thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Hancock.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just give this Pfizer update here. Just trying to find it. Well, let me not do the Pfizer update. I'm kind of a little frazzled about what was stated today. I just wanted to say something about the construction defect. I live in a,
Okay.
Mayor, let me just say something about
Please.
this. Oh, is it my turn, or?
Oh, I screwed up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
But
okay.
go ahead and finish.
Okay, I apologize. So I just want to say something about the construction defect. We do need more availability of places and condos where people can purchase. Home ownership is important. I live in a condo area where it was built in 1984. And some of these condos is from townhomes, from condos from 900 square feet to even 400 square feet. Micro communities. And a lot of the people that live in those condos are able to afford to live at those, even though they were built long ago. It gives people an ability to at least buy something that they can afford and grow into the community as they are continuing to look for other housing. So all this debate about what Councilmember Coombs is talking about, that's trial lawyers. They have a bill that's out, and that's their position, because I saw her reading whoever she's getting the information from. But let me just go back to my thing here. Basically, I was able last Tuesday to go do a ribbon cutting with Belco Inc. Credit Union. They are in Ward 5, which I'm proudly to be able to say that they are. I think they will be they're a great addition to the Corner Star shopping center. Our Ward 5 town hall meeting will be March 19th. And that would be at the Mission Viejo Library. It's going to start at 6:30. I'm going to be doing with Councilmember Jurenski. We're going to talk about medians. We're going to talk about parks. We're going to have kind of a Q&A with code enforcement, which I get a lot of questions specifically in that area. And we're going to do our crime stats for Ward 5 in the city, and Q&A and a general update. So thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry I was a little frazzled. I was very, very taken aback by Councilmember Coombs's comment about black and brown people. So I am glad Councilmember Hancock spoke on my behalf as well. So thank you.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Thank you, sir. The graduation ceremony for 29 Aurora police cadets was truly inspirational, I thought. What an incredible quality class of people that are just excited to do their job. They were so well spoken. Their motives for doing this work are incredible. And that speech that the gal was chosen to do was simply inspiring. We need condos built. Don't they make sense for first-time young home buyers especially? But our builders are too scared to build them because they get their butts sued by an overly litigious trial lawyer force out there. Bottom line. We have a Ward 2 town hall meeting in conflict on the same night with the at-large people, but I just want to tell you the cool people come to Ward 2 town halls.
There we go.
Usually they're more intelligent, they ask better questions, so we look forward to having you at Robbie. We'll see you there. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, no. Hey, wait. Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, sir. My town hall is tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 at the Active Adult Center, and we'll be having budget talks and housing and affordable housing. So thank you.
Did I get Hancock? Councilmember Hancock. Did I get you?
Oh, sorry.
And you're unforgettable, let me tell you that. Councilmember Bergen.
Okay, thank you. I also attended the graduation with Mayor and Councilmember Hancock and Councilmember Sundberg. It was one of the best graduations. Probably primarily because there were 29 graduates, but also even the video presentation was stellar. I really thought they did a great job. So congratulations to the 29 graduates. And I know the next class, we also have a large class coming up in the academy. I serve on the Accelerate board, and so we had a transportation subcommittee that I participated in. I also had the subcommittee for the opioid governance called Detox Walk-In Center, and we had a presentation by Ridgeview on what their plans are for their campus. I also was able to tour some other modular homes in North Aurora from a small builder, so that was very interesting. And then my town hall is March 20th from 6 to 8 o'clock at the Heritage Eagle Bend Clubhouse, and the main presentation will be on how retail happens in the city of Aurora, and then all of my general updates, and I always have APD and AFR there as well. So thank you.
Okay. I'd like to give an announcement for some public hearings or town hall type meetings for people to be able to ask questions and get a presentation from Housing and Community Services on the Aurora Regional Navigation Campus. That is the Crown Plaza Hotel conversion. And that will be on here in this chamber on Thursday, March 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that one is for business owners. And then there will be one for residents. That will be on Thursday, March 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. And encourage not just people from Aurora, but obviously people from Denver in the area where this is going to be in the vicinity of I-70 and Chambers to come to these meetings. And with that, seeing no further business before the Aurora City Council, meetings adjourned.